Hi, everybody. Gary and Mike again, Pivotal Advisors, continuing our Real Talk series for sales leadership. And today we're really going to be talking about giving direction. It's probably more important now than it's ever been because everything's changed. Our worlds have changed, our markets have changed, our client needs have changed. And I don't want to just leave it personally up to the salespeople to go figure it out. So we need to be supplying them with some direction. Especially as people are starting to come back to work, some are not. You might be in your office, your customer might be coming back to the office, so we need to be giving some different direction. So Mike, when you think about a lot of change going on, we've got our team probably wondering what to do. Some think they have the answer, some don't. What do you think of in terms of how do you give direction, how frequently you give direction, et cetera?
Yeah, and I think part of that, Gary, is let me start with the direction we're hearing. So I've had this conversation with several people, and what they're saying is, I've told all my people to go check in, right? They're checking in with their customers, they're calling them frequently, and then I'll follow up and say, well, what does check in mean? What are they getting done? How are you recording that? How are we knowing we're doing it? The other one I'm hearing is, well, we can't get a hold of anybody because they're furloughed, or they're just not picking up the phone because they're not doing anything, or whatever it happens to be. And I say, okay, so then what are they supposed to do? And I got a lot of, blank stares on video, but blank stares, right? And some of the question then is, okay, so what should we be telling them what
Right.
or how to do it? So I think things to think about is, what is a check-in? So if I call, are there 4 pieces of information we're getting? So, basically, what can we learn during this process? Second, how do I dig deep into that pipeline and really find out, are people moving the ball forward? Is it truly on hold? Because I've heard that a lot too. Hey, this deal's on hold, or this opportunity's on hold, or this order's on hold. And I'll say, oh, for how long? And again, I get the blank stares. Is it for April until things can pick back up? Is it through May? Like, get your company some information. So that's another one we can do on these sort of check-ins. I think we can get specific about products. I think you're either moving something along, you're learning something, or you're starting to introduce different alternatives for the client on what they can do, right? What else can they do? What would you add to that?
Well, I would just say sometimes, depending on what your market is, you might have different messaging. You might be addressing a different need. You might be going after a brand new market, and they're not used to going after that market or understanding what that is. We need to work with them on when you call them, what is that messaging? I don't like to check in either. I would rather go there with, hey, wanted to talk to you. Here's what I'm hearing from other clients. What are you doing about that? But you're arming them with questions to ask, information to share, resources that you can pass on, but you give them direction about messaging. You might need to give them direction about which markets to go after. Not every market in the US is down right now. There's some that are up, and we might need to shift focus away from where we have spent time to different areas. We might want to spark old conversations that had died a long time ago, but now we have another reason to call to say, hey, I've got some things I'd love to talk to you about. But we need to give them specific direction. And I even like tying it to weekly goals. So when we're out here, let's set a goal for how many conversations that we're going to have, or discovery meetings, or demos, or new meetings, or whatever it happens to be for you. But where we may not have been as diligent about this in the past, I want to be super diligent about making sure everybody has a goal for the week with specific direction about what they should do.
Yeah, and you asked earlier, Gary, what's the frequency? And you've been kind of saying, I think weekly is critical right now, right? What are we going to do for the week? Let's get laser focused on that. Let's report back so we learn a little bit about, did it work, or should we try something else, especially if you've got some new messaging or you're trying something different. The faster we report back and collectively capture that, I think we're in good shape. But I like weekly direction. And while we all think giving direction is easy, being specific is hard to do sometimes. So I like that weekly part of it, and be as specific as you can about who we're calling, when we're calling them, what we're trying to learn or advance, and how we're going to report back. That is specific direction, and we can kind of go from there.
And I might even say, if you're a highly transactional company, daily huddles are awesome in that particular.
Absolutely.
Because face it, we're in a new situation right now, and everybody's trying to figure out the right formula, the new formula that's going to work. And weekly weekly team meetings or weekly one-on-ones or daily huddles are a great way to get feedback on what's resonating, what's not, what's landing with the client, what's a total mess, so we can keep reshaping our offering. But if we leave it up to the salesperson, we don't know what we're going to get. Let's get really specific.
Yeah, so kind of taking that. So let's say we do that, right? And now we've given this beautifully specific direction and we're really, really good. And then everybody just automatically goes and does it, right? And
Of course they do. No.
Of course they do. So then the question is, because we're what we would call shaping behavior a little bit here, right? And we're changing a little bit. What are the kinds of things the sales leader needs to do, Gary, to stay on top of it and make sure that we're actually doing this stuff?
I love the expression. We use it quite often around here at Pivotal, but it's catch them doing the right thing. We have to reinforce behaviors that we want to see. And the only way that we can do that is by listening to them, observing them. If we can hop on a call with them and they deliver that messaging exactly the way we want it, awesome. If they come back and they chase the markets we told them to, we recognize that. We reinforce whenever they are executing the direction that we've just given them. And if they're not, then we back up and we make an adjustment and we restate why we're doing the things that we're doing, and we talk to them about making adjustment and we send them back out there. But just because we told them on the front end does not mean that they're going to go execute right away. We have to be able to reinforce it as best we can.
Right. And I think there's some, probably now more than ever, because as it sits today, we're still doing a lot of these, Zoom or video type calls. And you guys have probably heard us say before, for those of you that have worked with us, it is super important to observe what your salespeople are doing, right? You never really know until you watch. It is probably as easy as it's ever been to listen in, right? This is the best time, whether you can get on the Zoom call, because now I don't have to drive or fly or fit it into my schedule, right? It's pretty easy to just jump on a call with somebody and listen in, and it's amazing what you can learn. And not so much, to your point of catching them doing it right, we want to reinforce those things we really like. But what a great way to give feedback or make a quick correction before the next call, right? So doing this, and then if you don't have the time to listen in on all of them, because hopefully your salespeople are making more calls than you can possibly keep up with. But what are some other things? There's some tools out there, Gary, that people can use that can do this.
There's a couple of really cool tools or coaching tools. You can listen to audio calls or video calls. One's called Gong, so gong.io. There's another one called Refract. But they're really cool coaching tools where on demand, I can go pull up any one of my salesperson's sales calls and I can go, oh, Mike, that was a really good question here. I like the way you did this. We didn't really get to the point there. These platforms pick up how much is the rep talking versus how much is the customer talking, et cetera. There's really cool tools that I would encourage you to check out. And it's a great way to get feedback and monitor and reinforce the behaviors we're trying to drive, which is really the point we're trying to make here.
Absolutely. And again, best time ever to sort of observe what's happening. And then, I started talking about a little bit, I think it's important to, from an accountability perspective, for not only do it, hopefully observe it, but then do that check-in, whether it's on a huddle, whether it's a quick Friday meeting, whether it's a one-on-one or it's some reporting device. Tell us what's happening. And again, what did we learn on these calls? And be specific, not just say, hey, I kind of called everybody and nobody's interested. Right? I don't know what to do with that, but what did we learn? Did we capture some critical information? Did we promote something new? Did our new messaging resonate with anybody? Is our new offering that we're trying to do, is it hitting the mark? Are we talking to the right people? I mean, we can learn, like the point you made, we can learn so fast, make an adjustment, and then reset direction for the following week. And that iterative process, you would be surprised how much better your people will get and how much quicker you will come up with an offering or a market or something that we can move forward on, even if we can't be out face-to-face right now. And as we get out face-to-face, hopefully we're carrying those good habits forward.
Yeah, and the basic accountability part of it as well. If we're setting weekly direction and say have X amount of new opportunities or contacts or meet, we got to hold them to that. And if they're not hitting it, we got to coach and make adjustments and whatnot. So there's a basic accountability as well. So I'll wrap it up with the same thing I started with. They need direction more than ever right now. Everything's different markets, different needs, different challenges, different messaging, different everything else. you need to provide them with this direction and reinforce that direction as a sales leader. That's probably your biggest role right now, is to make sure that your people are all singing off the same songbook page. So whatever we can do to give them direction frequently and make those adjustments, that's our role. Anything to wrap it up with, Mike?
I think that's good. I would just say this is our responsibility as a leader, right? And these are the times we set up, and the better direction we get, the better coaching we give, the better follow up, the faster we adjust and iterate, the more our team is going to progress, even in a critical time.
All right. This is part of our Real Talk video series on sales leadership. Keep watching. Subscribe to our channel. Thanks.
Thanks all.